Welcome to California Edition. My name is Brad Pomerance. We are joined today by Rudy Salas. He is a member of the California State Assembly. We are in his hometown of Bakersfield at 23 ABC. Thank you so much for having us in your hometown. Given that you represent significant portions of Kern County, it's not a surprise that when the water bond of 2014 was being negotiated, you were part of the negotiating team.
No, absolutely.
Tell us about that. That's been very exciting.
It was intense at some times.
Right.
We were negotiating, I could tell you, like 11 o'clock at night. Wow. We would get together, and it was really the Valley legislators,
right,
your Democrats and Republicans getting together saying, this is something we need to get done.
It's remarkable when you mention the Valley legislators, because I think about all of y'all, if I can use that cliche. You really stick together. I mean, Democrats and Republicans, from Adam Gray to Kristen Olson, Rudy Salas to Tony Cannella, I mean, you don't mess with each other. I mean, you're a team, you're a unit. Democrats and Republicans, if anyone tries to break into that team and mess with you guys, you protect each other.
Yeah, no, we actually serve as like the bridge between both parties. So you always hear about this partisan politics, but I can tell you in the Capitol, your Valley legislators really work together. The water bond was a good example where we were all aligned. We got together, we said, look, what's best for the state of California? What's best for the Central Valley? And we served as that bridge between both major parties to get this deal done. I don't know if you remember when early discussions of the water bond was either let's take it or leave what the existing one was.
The $11 billion bond.
Correct. And so, your Valley legislators got together and said, look, this is something we need to do. This is something we need to get done. And we needed to get Governor Brown on board initially.
He got on board,
he did.
And so did the state of California. I mean, it passed overwhelmingly. About a third of the bond goes to storage projects. And while right now we don't have a lot to store, there are rumors, sir, that an El Nino could come this winter that could be, I don't know, cataclysmic. I am being a little hyperbolic, but be that as it may, given that we could see significant rains, there is a little frustration that we haven't started on those projects yet.
No, absolutely.
What's going on?
We heard about this frustration, and a lot of things were discussed about, well, why didn't we do things during the drought in the 90s?
Right.
Well, why didn't we have these infrastructure problems addressed then? And so, I tell people, that's great, we're all frustrated, but let's move forward now. Let's do something for California now. And storage was a big piece of the water bond. That's why we put $2.7 billion towards hopefully what we think will be the two sites, which is Temperance and also sites.
But now, with one of them, is that a new facility or growing an existing facility?
Yeah, so what Temperance Flats would do would actually add like another layer out to Millerton Lake.
So let's get going.
Let's do it. I'm all for it. I'm all for it.
But that's the question. I mean, some of your friends on the Republican side have said, what's the delay? They tried to have certain CEQA exemptions passed. They were not successful. I don't know why. Aside from the CEQA debate, what is the delay?
Yeah, so that's what we're like coming up with. So when I asked, I said, what is a delay? Do we need another CEQA exemption? And what I was told was a CEQA has already actually been done for Temperance Flats. What they're actually doing is updating it. So once it's updated, we have the money allocated. We're trying to get some money from the feds too. We're trying to get them to pony up, especially because we have state money that we're hoping to match if the feds want to match, because we have this allocation. So the more we can do for California's water infrastructure, the better it's going to be for all Californians. I mean, that's residents and not just farmers. It's the entire gamut of all of our water users in the entire state.
When do you expect to see construction on any storage project for that matter?
So what I'm told right now by all the officials is that it could start maybe as soon as 6 years, if not 8+ years. So
it's going to start, it's going to take that long to start?
That's what they say. We're trying to push them to start a lot sooner. And then we actually have some other projects too. So I have like an assembly bill right now, for instance, to help with the water infrastructure. And that actually can be done within 18 months of the governor signing it.
But even just to make, was it Temperance taller?
No. So it would add a different layer in the back. I wish I had a map to show you, because I could show you kind of this little loop.
So it's not increasing the height of Temperance. It's a different
that was a different discussion when they were talking about raising Shasta.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that correction. I want to get a sense from you as a representative from Kern County how your constituents are doing. This is really ground zero for the drought.
Absolutely.
And while we hear about the El Nino, like I said, it hasn't hit yet. How are your constituents doing?
Yeah, I've had a number of community coffees out in some of my smaller cities, some of my big cities, and the drought is prevalent. I can tell you every time I talk to somebody, it's always about water, right? Because we hear it in the news, conserve water, every drop counts.
Right.
Everything we do to help conserve it, to help save water, because we know what a dire situation we're in. When you look at, say, Google Maps, for instance, or you look at what the reservoirs look like prior to this drought, right? You see the different levels. And I mean, just going out to the lake, you see the different levels as well. And so what we're trying to do is we're saying, what else can we do to fix this problem, right? And that's why I have that bill that will actually help with some of the infrastructure sooner, but everyone's being affected. And, let me, I could give you some examples.
Please.
Some folks, a lot of folks I talk to, they've either been directly affected by the drought or a family member's been affected by the drought. And some are saying, like, I used to work in agriculture. Now a lot of the farmers and growers, they're actually fallowing some of the land because they don't have the water allocation to put towards their crops, so they're laying off people. And when they lay those people off, that's less people, for instance, like even in the trucking industry, our parts, or everything that feeds into agriculture. Correct. You have this ripple effect all the way through.
At the same time, recently, the State Water Board issued their report for the first month of conservation. Now, Bakersfield had a very high target. I think they had to conserve 32%. Be that as it may, they got very close to meeting that target. They didn't meet the target, but still, they saved a third water.
Correct.
When compared to 2 years ago. This state is coming together. Overall, the state saved 27% based upon 2 years ago. Sir, I never would have predicted that we could save that much water.
Yeah, it's changing people's habits and their customs, and people educating people, letting them know how dire of a situation the state of California is in and how you can make an impact. I was talking to my little cousins, for instance, and I said,
your little focus group of 3.
So I was just telling them, when you're brushing your teeth, turn off the water. So you need to rinse. Important. Every gallon adds up, and if we do that, you multiply that by all the residents of the state of California, it's going to make a big impact.
I want to talk about the budget briefly. The state budget recently passed.
Correct.
Largest state budget, I think, ever, for better or for worse. Some money was spent on water to try to ease the pain of the drought. Education, a big priority. Absolutely. What do you make of that? It's been a huge priority of the governor. Some say to the detriment of other areas in our state. What's your sense?
Yeah, so I know when we're talking about the budget and we're negotiating the statewide budget, I know in my caucus and with some of my colleagues, we talked about reinvesting in our children and reinvesting in education. And we did it to the tune of almost every student now in California. It works out to $3,000 per student.
That feels good. It undeniable. But my question is, K-12 is such a priority for this governor and for many in the legislature, Dems and Reeves. Is it so much so that it's hurting other areas of the budget?
So the great thing about the California economy is it has been growing. And so what we're doing with the growth in the economy is a couple of things. One, putting money away for the rainy day fund.
That is true.
Right? So we don't have these dire 2008, 2009 kind of budgets. The other thing is reinvesting into our priorities, and one of those priorities is education. So when you say, is it taking away from something? No, actually the economy is growing, and so we're allocating based off those priorities. So for instance, higher education also plays into this as well. And we put an additional $97 million just to Cal States. Because, we hear from students saying, I can't get my classes, I can't graduate in 4 years. We're trying to help alleviate some of those issues.
His name is Rudy Salas. He is a member of the California State Assembly. He represents significant portions of Kern and Kings County. We are at 23 ABC Today in Bakersfield. My name is Brad Pomerance. You are watching California Edition.